And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakar Give double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth, and sincerity of the men and the women who follow. This is the brother Karatazar from the GMS Nebraska camp, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This one being entitled, These Shall Hate the Whore. Now, this whore that speaking of is, as you can see, NATO. So, NATO and the EU, which is the Greeks, the British, Germania Major, the Spanish, French, the Romans, and Germania Minor. All right, and that whore, all right, that thou sawest upon the beast is America. All right, so we know that America and the EU, NATO, they're all connected. All right, but it said that the beast is gonna hate the whore. So that's what we want to get into in this lesson. Lord, what is edifying. I got a couple articles. This one coming from today, February 24th, from Newsbreak. All right. It says Germany to move towards independence from U.S., the new leader says. It says before the final votes in Germany's election were even counted, Friedrich Merz, the leader of the center right Christian Democratic Union Party, who is set to become the next chancellor, promised a major shift in relations with the U.S. In a post election debate, he promised to confront head on a new reality that the Trump administration looks to overturn about 80 years of policy and raises the prospect of abandoning security guarantees for Europe, right? Because uh, going back to the picture, America's in bed with these European nations, all right, with what's called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. All right, so you have all these countries. Let me see. So you have all these countries who are technically a part of NATO. All right, and they're all, as you can see, in the North Atlantic. Right, that's a good picture. In the North Atlantic. All right, so uh, said that Trump is speaking about abandoning the prospect of security guarantees for Europe. So who would they need security from? From Russia, right? The whole reason NATO. Let's get that. Yep. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949 by the United States, Canada, and several Western European nations to provide collective security against the Soviet Union. Right. So the whole purpose of NATO was to protect all these countries from Russia. Okay, and they have a mutual. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Mutual combat agreement. That mutual combat. Okay, I guess that's when two people agree to fight each other. Um, I can't. Let's see. It's Google, so you can just type it. So, what is it when if you go to war with a country, you go to war with its allies. Collective defense. All right. So they have what's called a collective defense treaty, where if you go to war with any one of these countries, all right, any war of these countries, go to war with any one of these countries on this list, then you go to war with all of them. All right. So it would make to deter Russia from taking over any of these little countries because they're backed up by the whole collective. Kind of reminds me of the Mighty Ducks back in the day. They said, you know why nobody, you ever seen a duck fight? No, because all the other animals are afraid. They know if you mess with one duck, you got to deal with the whole flock. So that's what it is. If you mess with one nation, you got to deal with the whole collective. All right, but these relationships are breaking down. Trump is putting sanctions on these countries. He's talking about you got to pay that cash money, all right, or we're not going to help defend you. Which the U.S. defended Europe in World War One, World War Two. They routinely saved their ass, so to speak. So these countries have become dependent on the U.S. for security, for resources, for everything. So Trump is trying to tax that ass. Trump is saying, "Hey, look, we're doing all the heavy lifting. Y'all need to come up off of it, or we ain't gonna have this agreement anymore." All right. So Germany is saying, "Look, they tripping. We need to move away from them and do it on our own." It says my absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that step by step we can achieve independence from the U.S. Right, because they're dependent on the U.S. To look at Ukraine. Mertz added that I never thought I would have to say something like this on a television program, but after Donald Trump's statement last week, at the latest, it is clear that the Americans, at least this part of the Americans, this administration, are largely indifferent to the fate of Europe. So, so what he's saying is like we don't give a fuck. The Americans don't give a fuck about what happens to Europe. It says Merck's conservative CDU party emerged as a let me see. Okay, yeah. Let's get this. It says Trump and members of both his administrations have called over the years for the U.S. allies to invest more in NATO and for Europe to take responsibility for its own security. However, we've also made it clear for years, decades even, that it's unacceptable that the United States taxpayer, all right, us here at home, continues to bear the burden, not only the cost of the war in Ukraine, but the defense of Europe. Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor, said last week. So Trump is saying, look, the American taxpayer is paying to defend the European taxpayer, pretty much, and it's not fair. We got to pay to cover your ass. So why can't you just get up off your ass and defend yourself? That's what Trump is saying, and because he's saying that, these relationships are breaking down. So that's a part of going into the scripture from Revelation 17 and 16 that we jumped off with, that the 10 horns, right? The 10 the the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, right? They're gonna turn on America. This is um not really bridging the gap, but furthering the divide between the whore and the beast. So let's get this other article, and let me see, from 214 2025. It's from France24.com. The U.S. braces for a turbulent diplomacy as U.S. demands rebalancing of relations, right? Similar to what we read over in the other article. Relations between the U.S. and Europe entered uncharted territory after a week of diplomatic shots um, that saw the Trump administration cutting Kiev and Brussels out of the bilateral U.S. Russia talks to end the Ukrainian war and setting a hard line on NATO defense spending. It has set the stage for stormy talks between allies in Munich, which is in Germany, security conference this weekend. So what you're saying is Trump is just throwing his weight around. Trump not even asking what Ukraine or what Brussels got to say about the war that they're in. But why should they have to? Why should Trump have to go to Ukraine to ask them about a ceasefire when Trump is paying the bill, so to speak? Look, you don't have no weapons unless I give you them. You don't have no say in it no more. It's like you live under my roof. You play by my rules. You know. It says European leaders are bracing for a tense talk, or sorry, bracing for tense talks with the U.S. team led by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance at the 2025 Munich Security Conference. Vance and the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth embarked on a diplomatic blitz of Europe this week to deliver a stern warning from their boss, President Donald Trump. The message from Washington was stark. Europe must step up and contribute more to its own security as part of a rebalancing of transatlantic relations. Right? Hey, get your shit together because we're not going to keep footing this bill. So you need to do more, or we doing less. Like I said, that he set a hard line. That's like hey, look, we've been paying 15. I just thought I ran a random number. We've been paying 15 billion. That's unacceptable. You're gonna get 9 billion, and y'all better do it at which I need to do it and get it done at 9 because I'm not paying 15 anymore. So y'all need to basically come up with that other 6 between the bunch of you. All right, he's setting that hard line. Says ahead of meetings at NATO headquarters in Brussels this week, the new Pentagon chief hammered home the message repeated oftentimes by Trump that it was Europe's responsibility to stop the Russian war machine and demanding that NATO countries increase their defense spending by 5% of their GDP. So, and we know that America spends more than any country on its military. So they're saying if we can do it, you motherfuckers better do it. You better allocate some funds or switch something up because something got to go, right? Something got to go. And this is all Bible prophecy. You know, let's jump back, all right, to Revelation 17:3. It says, "So he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So this is just proving again, like I said, that these two are together right now. But as we read these two articles, there's going to be a divide, which is the verse 16 that we read. Let's get Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee." Right? Because right now it's relationships are rocky, but it's still relatively peace. But America's being deceived because just like Germany is saying that they're moving towards independence, and these other countries are feeling the same way. All right, Donald Trump is pushing people away, opposed to making allies and bringing people close. No, he's pushing people away, and it's biblical prophecy. All right, it says all the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and have prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's no understanding in him. Right, so that wound is going to be right. These European countries are going to lay that wound in America. America's going to feel it one way or another, whether it's physically, financially, all right, economically. You know, we just got to sit back and just let it play out because it's happening right before our eyes. All right, these relationships are deteriorating, and it's going to eventually culminate in the Third World War. All right, so we'll get this last scripture and end it. This is Jeremiah 50 and 14. It says, "Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrow, for she has sinned against the Lord Yahweh." You know, so America's going to be made desolate. Okay, America's going to be a wasteland from the ICBM missiles that hit it repeatedly, because all of its allies, also like all of its former allies, are going to shoot at it. All right, and spare no arrows. Hit the spare no arrow. Okay, that means I said all ye that been the bow. So anyone with this nuclear capability, all right, they're gonna shoot their nukes, they're gonna shoot their missiles on America and make it totally desolate. All right, the only way to escape that is the salvation of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, which that's going into another lesson, another story for another time. But Lord, as well, this is edifying, and we give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakar Kadash. Give double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and women who follow. Shalom.